So if you're currently getting leads from your clinic's ads, but they're not converting into the level of booked appointments and revenue that you had expected, this video is for you. Maybe you're working with an agency and they're telling you that the campaigns are fine. You're getting good volume, cost per lead is good, returns will come, it just takes time. And while that may be true, deep down you know something isn't adding up. Because if the ads are working, why aren't you feeling it in your diary? Why aren't you feeling it in your take-home pay? So now, assuming you're doing what most agencies tell you to do, which is following up yourself, you're in this strange position. You're paying for leads, but you've also somehow taken on a second job, replying to every inquiry. So it's checking your phone between clients, trying to remember who you haven't followed up with, sending messages at 9 p.m. at night because that's the only time you get any minute in the day. And even when you try, it's inconsistent. It's hard to stay on top of. It depends how busy you are on that day, and it also depends how tired you are. And let's be honest, it sucks the life out of you, and you just don't want to do it. But when you don't do it, leads go cold, people disappear, and money you already paid to generate clients just slips away. This isn't about running better ads, it's not about posting more content, and it's not about you being glued to your phone. It's about what actually happens in your system after someone inquires. Because there are 5 very specific places most clinics I see leak bookings, especially when the owner is also the practitioner. Fix 1 or 2 of these and you can double your bookings from the same leads. Fix all 5 and 3 to 5x your current level of lead conversion isn't unrealistic. So before I break it down, these 5 leaks, let me show you what happened when clinics we worked with fixed these leaks using the systems we put in place. So Kathy and Shannon from Flow Aesthetics were running a skincare campaign, getting plenty of leads. The problem wasn't traffic, it was follow-up. They didn't have time to manage every inquiry manually, and only about 5% of the leads were actually converting. So after we restructured their backend flow with no changes to the ads, within 30 days, you could see conversions had jumped up to 20%. They had their record revenue month in that first month of running the system. And the same leads, the same campaign, but getting 4 times the bookings. And in Kathy's words, for the first time, I could finally put my phone down. Another example. This is Sarah from her clinic, Aesthetics by Sarah. She actually is a solo clinic owner and practitioner. And she just invested heavily into a Tesla chair machine, which is something that supports pelvic health. So she wanted to run that ad as a treatment she would offer. So she ran the ads, leads were coming in, and some bookings happened. But it wasn't enough to cover her machine costs or the ad spend. She was told to call every lead, to voicemail, to email, to DM, and for her, this was just uncomfortable and it was exhausting, and the return didn't justify the effort that she was putting in. Then, after fixing the conversion leaks, we found that bookings had tripled in the first 30 days compared to prior months. And over the following months, we've been working together for 3-4 months since then to the recording of this video. She's consistently hit around 10 times the return on her ad spend. Again, no changes to the ads, no new funnel, no front-end rebuild, just fixing what happens after the inquiry comes in. And here's the key takeaway. The opportunity isn't usually at the front end. It's in the gap between the inquiry and booked appointment. The part you, as the business owner, are responsible for. Marketing agencies will most of the time only go as far as getting you the inquiry. So let's break down exactly where most clinics are leaking bookings. And here I'll explain the 5 biggest ones. Something you'll notice about these gaps, they aren't actually about marketing skill or sales. It's not about persuasion tactics. It's not even about high pressure closing or writing better copy. Most of this, what I'm going to share, is just operational discipline. That's structure, speed, consistency. And even when you know exactly what you should be doing, it's really hard to execute properly when you're running the clinic, seeing clients, and juggling everything else. So If what I share does start to feel overwhelming, don't worry. These are just me explaining the key principles of what makes a top performing conversion system. Then later, I'll show you how this can all run automatically for you with no tech headaches. So, the first leak, delayed outreach. So when someone submits interest in your ad, their intent is strongest in the first few minutes. You must outreach them even if your ad takes them to a booking site, because as you've seen by now, most leads are just not booking off the bat. If your first message goes out 30 minutes later, an hour later, or even the next morning, momentum drops fast. Leads forget why they signed up for. Oh, sorry, what they signed up for. Competitors who acted faster take them instead. Most clinics who reach out only do so when they get round to it. Top performers reach out instantly. That first 60 seconds matters more than most people realize. The second leak is slow replies once the conversation has started, so not just that initial outbound message. For example, a lead asks a simple question, like about pricing, but your reply will come later, after clients, after family, or other tasks that just simply take priority. But by then, the emotional window has cooled. Conversations lose energy and the leads ghost. Not because they weren't interested, but because timing slipped. Speed inside the conversation is just as important as the first message. The third leak is lack of structured follow-up and persistence. Most clinics send one follow-up, don't hear back, and assume the lead wasn't serious. But many patients don't decide immediately. They get distracted, they hesitate, or simply forget. Without structured multi-touch follow-up before and during conversations, a large portion of your warm leads will disappear. Persistence isn't pushy when it's simple reminders and check-ins, and silence is more expensive than worrying for a minute about being pushy, only to lose a booking you could have secured. The fourth leak is sending links instead of guiding them to book. Most clinics simply say, here's the link, book in when you're ready. But that can confuse people. Devices load slowly. They take their time to complete, if they do at all. Assisted booking means helping them find a clear, suitable time, being with them live and guiding them through to confirmation, not letting them drift until the booking is locked in. So guided action converts significantly better than passive links. The fifth and final leak, that's most common to see where conversion slips, is essentially conversation dead ends. And this is now where we do start to talk slightly more about the sales skills, but nothing too complicated. It's not convincing or pressuring anyone to book. It's just simply about gentle direction. Many conversations stay in information mode, answering questions, giving prices, explaining treatments, without subtle progression towards desire to book, and then conversations stall. Then what happens is you end up doing extra follow-ups to recover leads that could have converted immediately if you were to do those follow-ups at all. So now that you've seen these 5 leaks, you can probably see how improving them would boost your conversion rates if you were able to execute on them consistently. The thing is, doing this manually with every lead, every day, without missing a single window, it's just not realistic. And I wouldn't expect any human to keep up, especially a busy solo practitioner like yourself. Because trying to do this all yourself just leads to anxiety, burnout, frustration, and that's assuming every lead is even serious in the first place. Because as you know, many people are actually just time wasters, but you only got to know that after giving them your time and energy. And that's exactly why the system we build for clinics like yours does it all for you. It automates every one of the 5 leaks, including the conversational flow. And that is done by AI. You are only called for when you are most needed, which is a small percentage of the time. And in case you're wondering if AI can really handle inquiries in a clinic setting, i.e., where client care is very important and personal, it absolutely can. In the case studies I mentioned earlier, AI was a key part of getting these results without feeling impersonal and without you being glued to your phone and without the extra stress. So now let's do some maths and I'll keep it simple. So whether installing this system makes sense for you comes down to one simple question. What percentage of your leads are actually turning into booked clients? As an example, so imagine you have 100 inquiries coming in from your ads. How many of them will actually walk through your clinic door? If that number is under 10%, i.e. less than 10 bookings from 100, there's usually a big opportunity. And here's what that looks like in practice. So let's say you're getting 100 leads per month, and if only 5% convert, that's 5 bookings. If your treatment is £300, that's £1,500 in revenue. Now, for most clinics, that barely covers the monthly ad spend, and it leaves you exhausted trying to chase every lead manually. Now, let's imagine the same 100 leads, but instead of 5% converting, 20% convert, which isn't unusual when the leaks are fixed properly. So that becomes 20 bookings, and at £300 each, that's £6,000 in revenue. The same leads, the same ad spend, but 4 times the result in bookings. That becomes an uplift of £4,500 per month without doing any extra marketing, without waiting months, and without relying on lifetime value, which is absolutely the main measure rather than just the instant first time booking. But this is talking about return on that first booking. And here's the best part, which is kind of on the operational and emotional side. You're not glued to your phone. You're not manually chasing conversations, and you're not worrying about who's been followed up with and who hasn't. Because this is a system that's automated, it all runs consistently, reliably, and mostly automated, which means your revenue becomes predictable without you being the bottleneck anymore. Now, here's the part that most clinic owners don't really like looking at, because once you see that gap, you can't unsee it. It's not about working harder. It's not about needing more leads. It's about realizing revenue was already there and it simply wasn't captured. That can feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's also empowering because it means the growth you want doesn't require rebuilding everything. It just requires tightening what already exists. And here's the truth. This service is not for everyone. It's not for clinics that are brand new to running ads. It's not for clinics that are seeing a steady flow that are not seeing a steady flow of inquiries yet. And it's not for low ticket treatments where the margin isn't enough to justify building this kind of structure. This only works when demand already exists because this isn't about creating interest. It's about converting the interest that you're already paying for. But if you are running ads, if you see leads coming in, and you know deep down more of them should be turning into revenue, this is the kind of leverage that changes your numbers quickly. Because every month you keep running ads without fixing your conversion structure, you're not just missing opportunity, you're actually paying for inefficiency. So the question isn't, should I be fixing this? The real question is, how long will I keep letting thousands of pounds slip by from leads I am already paying for? So if you've watched this far, chances are you are realizing these truths of the leaks and missed opportunity, and you want to explore this properly. That's great. The next step is to book a call with me using the button below. And on that call, we'll look at your current lead volume, your estimated lead to client percentage, where the leaks are, and what realistic uplift could look like in your clinic from applying this sort of system. This isn't a sales pitch call. It's a working session so you leave with clarity on the opportunity and whether implementing this system makes sense for you. If there's a clear upside, I'll show you. And if there isn't, I'll tell you directly. After booking, you'll complete a short application form. So that's after booking the call, you'll complete a short application form. And this is important because it gives me context on your clinic. It gives me context, for example, on the treatments you're promoting, your margins, and the capacity you have to implement this to its full extent. And this ensures the call is specific, productive, and tailored to you. If that form isn't completed, the call will be cancelled and it won't be rescheduled. Not to be difficult, but this works best when both sides are prepared. And I only take on a small number of clinics at a time to build this infrastructure properly for, and also to tailor it to your specific systems that you're already using. So I'm very selective about who I move forward with. You might be thinking, what if this won't work for my clinic? That's exactly what we'll determine on the call. What if AI or automation feels impersonal? I'll show you some real examples of it booking clients in a way that still feels human. And what if the real issue is my ads? We'll identify that quickly. The goal isn't to force anything, it's to determine whether improving your conversion structure would materially increase your monthly revenue from the leads you're already paying for. If it would, great. If not, you'll still leave with clarity either way. So if you're serious about closing the gap between inquiry and booked revenue, book your call with me below, complete the short application form, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.